Welcome to the O.W.P. This is our wrestling podcast. This is Dave along with Jess.
Oh, fuck off, Dave. Hi.
And Craig.
We need a montage.
That's right. Bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. And now on to our topic today, forgotten titles. Hit us up on Instagram at O.W.P. 2019. Click on Linktree. You can find us on several platforms, including Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast. And don't forget, anything we talk about is inspired by the WWE Network. So do yourself a favor and get your free month today to watch anything WWE, WCW, ECW, and more. Guys, what did we forget about?
I'm going to start dubbing in a Vince McMahon laugh after you do that intro from everyone, because he just laughs all the way to the
You should.
He should. Gosh.
You should buy it.
That's good shit. Yeah. What did we forget about?
Some titles or some shit. I don't know.
What's going on, man?
These are forgotten titles. There's a lot of titles in wrestling. Of course, anything WWF now, you know, we know of the heavyweight championship. We knew of the WCW heavyweight champion. The United States is still around, the United States title. Just WWF fashion or WWE fashion, whatever you want to say. Intercontinental champion, we know that. We know that title very well. World Tag Team Champions, we got that. We know that shit. But there's some forgotten titles that used to be in the 80s and 90s that as territories merged or WCW just said, fuck it, we're going to suck and go out of business. That got kind of forgotten by the wayside. So I just figured we'd bring up some of them. We got some of the belts behind us, which I like.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And quick behind the scenes note, we all didn't plan for this. Like usually you put wrestlers or some other version, and for all three of us to pick a different belt and just the shot of the belt.
Yeah, we did not talk about this. And so, yes, all three times.
I don't know how that happened.
We're a hive mind, guys. We're one.
That's right. Yeah. You guys ready to get down on this?
No.
All right. Well, the first one we're going to talk about is the WCW NWA United States Tag Team Championship. That title went from 86 to 92. The first NWA Tag Team Championships of the U.S. were crowned on September 28th of 1986. Crusher Khrushchev and Ivan Koloff won a tournament at a house show to win those titles. Well, I guess a house show's a house show.
Crusher Khrushchev was Smash.
That's right. Smash and Demolition.
Yes, and he won't be the first time mentioned tonight in the first winner of a wacky forgotten title, by the way, which is an interesting fun fact.
Yeah.
But
we'll mail his prize out later. You know,
we did the legacy on we did the legacy on Demolition for a reason. God damn it, they're legends.
Yeah.
They really, really are.
The first time U.S. tag.
So big highlight. How's that eggnog, Gregors? I bet it's delicious.
Good.
It's all right. A little chewy, but it's good. Yeah. The Midnight Express held those titles for 346 days between May 16th of 1987 and April 26th of 1988. They also had the most reigns with this title for a combined 505 days. Some people like the Midnight Express. Are you a fan, Jess?
Yes, I am. However, there was two versions. Dennis Condrey and Bob Eaton were the first Midnight Express, and then Stan Lane joined later.
Sweet Stan.
Sweet Stan Lane. I did like the Midnight Express. However, and they did win a couple World Tag titles too, but I really believe that the United States Tag Team Championships defined them because they were so dominant with it. And WCW, you can really overload your promotion and put too many titles in there. We've seen it happen today. Excuse me, I got something in my throat. But if if done right, they had a big roster. But this is back when Crockett, the territory was thriving. NWA was a big deal. So there was a lot of talent on that roster. I loved the United States Tag Team Championship. I did. I always dug it. I thought, why doesn't WWF do that? You know, it's the one thing that, like, you know, every now and then WCW would do something, and I'm like, I'm surprised WWF didn't do that. You know, but I'm glad, you know, WWF didn't water their own pond down. But at the same time, there's so many, you'll talk about it more. There's some big name tag teams that were United States Tag Team Champions, and it was used properly for a time being. It fell off a cliff, obviously, like most things do before it was discontinued, this title. But at the same time, yeah, like they didn't want to make the Midnight Express world champions. And in WWF land, for example, the heels that were good sellers typically didn't get rewarded a lot. They just bumped around for the faces everywhere. But in the Crockett territory, heels were just as valued as faces, if not more. So to really like reward tag teams like the Midnight Express or the Freebirds, like they would give them the United States tag titles. And you're going to read on in the notes too. There was another tag team that would become arguably the greatest tag team of all time that used that as a stepping stone to the world titles.
Yeah, the Fantastics. They had the shortest reign with 19 days. Oh, not them? Oh.
Fantastics were good, by the way.
Fantastics were good, but they weren't the one I was talking about.
But they only held it for 19 days. What Jess is talking about.
No, but that is a notable feud. If you're talking about the legacy of the U.S. tag titles, Fantastics and Midnights were a big portion of that the lifespan of that title.
Champions. First, the manager from Louisville, Kentucky, Jim Cornette. And his team from the bad side, Sweet Stan and Beautiful Bobby, the Midnight Express.
This really was like the house that Midnight built. Like these belts, there's a lot of nostalgia in Saturday afternoon wrestling, and even like looking on the network now, it's a lot of Jim Cornette, a lot of kind of center stage tapings and tag team titles. They put a lot of different tag teams together. One I saw today, Midnight Express versus Dusty and Nikita Koloff, and all four of those guys had belts, but it was for the U.S. tag titles.
Yeah.
And then they had kind of towards the end, they had kind of had random pairings that would win. But to me, like, yeah, it's a lot. You can see Midnight Express with these belts, and
that's a lot of
defending
leather,
them 12 to 14 minutes every week.
That's a lot of leather, baby, in that ring. So what Jess was talking about when it comes to the big names that we all know of, it's the Steiner brothers. They were the only tag team that actually had to vacate the belts due to winning the WCW World Tag Team titles in 1991 during their U.S. title run. That's pretty darn cool. So they were so good, they never had to relinquish the titles due to pinfall. They actually had to.
Did Midnight have to do that or no?
Sorry, say it again.
Did that happen before? Did Midnight or someone have to do that, or did someone win the main titles and have to drop them? Or
no, I want to say. You know what? Actually, you're right. I think the Midnight held both of them. I think the Midnight Express might be the only team that held both of them.
But they didn't have to give it up. Vacated.
Yeah, but the Steiners, that was me not probably doing my research. I feel a little foolish. However,
it says
for some odd reason I remember a picture of all the Midnight Express and Cornette holding all four belts. So you are right, Craig. But they didn't have to vacate them, I don't believe. But Steiners did, because they used it as like a stepping stool. Like they were doing the whole Doom program, and then the Freebirds out of nowhere beat Doom, which took the titles off them, they wanted Simmons to become a singles wrestler, so they made him and Butch Reed go at each other in singles matches. So they broke up Doom, but they didn't want to put the straps on the Steiners yet, because they knew the Steiners were popular, and they would be. This is when WCW actually thought for a minute, and they were like, "Well, wait a minute, we don't have to put the titles on the Steiners right now. Let's let the Doom thing play out. Let's tell a story with that. We'll have Simmons break off, become the singles wrestler that we know he became." And we'll just put the U.S. titles on the Steiners. They had an amazing match against the Nasty Boys at Halloween Havoc 1990 that I urge anybody to go watch. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful match where just the Steiners suplex the shit out of the Nasty Boys for about 15 minutes. And it's lovely. But I remember specifically the Steiners being U.S. tag champions going, when are they going to win the world titles? And when they finally did, they had to vacate the titles. But it was like the U.S. title, once again, the U.S. tag titles were used properly. So their short lifespan was meaningful to a few tag teams, Midnight Express being one of them, and Steiners, I want to say, being the other tag team, that it benefited. It made sense that they were champions. They used it correctly.
Steiner! He got him with a Frankensteiner! 1, 2, 3, the Steiners win it!
and gentlemen, the winners and still United States Tag Team Champions, the Steiner Brothers.
In looking back at the history of this championship too, a lot of the early guys, they won it in tournaments, and I didn't know whether that was all one day only special kind of tournaments, and I don't know what that meant, and I was too tired to kind of look and investigate. But a lot of these were actually done like yearly in U.S. tag tournaments. So
yeah, we're old and stuff. It takes a lot.
We are.
A lot of energy. Yeah. The final champions were the Barbarian and Dick Slater when Bill Watts, WCW VP at the time, announced the titles would be discontinued on July 31st, 1992. The Barbarian, how about that for a little? That would really throw you if you had to ask that quiz question.
You wouldn't. I would not have guessed that Dick Slater would be the last champion and still wrestling in 1992. I would have said he was the first.
And teaming up with the Barbarian, just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah. So our next title is the UWF television title. That is what's right behind me, ladies and gentlemen. The first Mid-South TV champion was crowned.
And by the way, sorry,
yeah.
that's a great title. You know, there's a little like I don't want to say cult following or like a subdivision of wrestling fans that are just all about belts. Conrad Thompson is known for being like a belt collector. He will put down big cash to buy.
For sure.
Yeah, he buys original belts and stuff. I know that he's still looking for one of the original NWA 6-man tag team championship belts. He can't find it. So they're out there somewhere. They're out there somewhere, and he can't find it. But so he always puts out posts every now and then saying, if anybody fucking a ring-worn 6-man NWA tag team champion, let me know. I'll pay you cash. And God knows that somebody will probably get like 20 grand for it, like if they find it. Like so.
Jeez.
Keep looking, everybody. But yeah, he owns the United States Tag Team Championship. He's bought one of Flair's big gold belts that Flair had. I can't remember. I think he bought the one that went to WWF television with Flair. I think somehow Conrad owns that. So like he's a major belt.
I bet he didn't pay for it. I bet it was a trade off of debts.
Maybe.
Sorry, that was rude.
So a lot of people, I love this episode as well. And then we have these pictures up because I love the look of belts. And I think that certain belts, like we all know, everybody loves the original, not the original, but the.
And this one, the one behind me is that we're going to talk about. It's kind of a pretty one. You know?
No, the UWF television championship is really nice. Really nice.
Yeah. It's a pretty one. And guess who won the first one once again?
Crusher Khrushchev.
Crusher Khrushchev once again. And also in a tournament to win the title. Imagine that.
Oh, and speaking of, sorry to interrupt, Dave, but as I want, Dave, Jess was saying how pretty this belt was. And if I'm not mistaken, this belt was it Mid-South or Mid-Atlantic? It started as their TV championship.
Mid-Atlantic, yeah.
It literally was a medal. That championship. It wasn't even a belt. It was a medal like Kurt Angle around the neck. If you look at the history.
I might have forgot to put that in the notes. You are totally correct. Yes.
Fantastic, Craig. Wow,
it was a shitty medal.
And then when Watts bought the territory and turned it to the UWF, he made it a belt. I'm not saying he melted the metal down, but I mean, he actually had a belt made. But you're right. Yeah, the first champions, the first couple of years was a medal.
That sounds like a montage. Melting it down.
Yeah. So yeah, this belt that behind Dave was a medal in its former life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good looking belt.
Terry Taylor, of all people, has the most rings.
My guilty pleasure. Come on, Terry. Yeah,
Terry,
Good
and
man.
the most combined days with 383 of those bad boys. I like to think that this was probably where, Terry was kind of, getting his medal and where I think Vince saw something in him to bring him up, right? This is where he's definitely earning his stripes.
Has no business there. And Roberts now rolling up Taylor. Could this be it? Can we have a new champion right here? And
he ran into it. He hit him. He hit Michael Hayes. That's it, Jim. He's defended it. He's done it.
Taylor powered out it. He pushed Roberts into Michael Hayes and Terry Taylor. There you see the champion.
I'll tell you what, it backfired on Michael Hayes. I told you folks just a minute.
Stripes is in the UWF. Would you say?
Yeah, and when you're going to read on too, when the sale happened, when Watts decided to sell his UWF to Crockett, Terry did come over for a minute just for a brief unification match that you're going to read about. And then he went to WWF shortly after that as Scary Terry Taylor. And then that's when he got with Heenan and did the Rooster thing. And the rest is history.
Yep. But before we got to talk about the shortest reign, Nikita Koloff held that bad boy for a single day. And then, Nikita Koloff also defeated Terry Taylor on November 26 of 1987 for the UWF TV title at Starrcade of 97. The bout was a title unification bout, with Terry Taylor entering as UWF TV champ and Koloff as the NWA TV champion. Bill Watts sold the UWF to Crockett Promotions shortly before the event, and we all know who the king of the NWA TV champion is, right?
Crusher Khrushchev.
The Z-Man.
There you go. No.
We're both right, Jess.
I put the UWF TV title because I remember that unification match. It was just when I first started getting into wrestling.
So,
one of the tapes
crazy question, because I want to make sure is the NWA TV champ and the WCW TV champ the same thing?
Yes.
Or no?
Yes.
So you're both wrong. It's Arn Anderson. Just want to make sure I had that. Before I got into it.
For some odd reason, call me crazy. I'm standing by the Z-Man. I don't know why.
I'm standing by the Z.
Standing by the Z-Man.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's a really cool one, and it's just funny how often stuff just gets sold off. So
I thought that was interesting. I just thought it was a very interesting lineage, that title, like, because everyone talks about, and Mid-Atlantic was a big deal. It really was. It was a big territory for NWA back in the day, and so that morphed into the UWF.
You're really talking about a 3-year stint with this title.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. It was just it started out as a Mid-Atlantic TV championship, I think, right? Or did I put that on the notes or something in the beginning? It started out as something different.
You said Mid-South, but it might be Mid-Atlantic.
Mid-Atlantic, yeah. So, and then that morphed into the UWF Television Championship. So I remember that unification match with Koloff and Taylor for some reason. It just sticks out of my mind from my childhood. And so I just remember that, oh, yeah. Like,
it had some big names. It had Shane Douglas, Eddie Gilbert, Jake Roberts won it, Butch Reed. Like there's some
Roberts
names
won
in
a
these
title? What?
couple of years just for this title. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm telling you.
And then
then
he lost it to Hogan.
Yeah, that's what happened. Speaking of UW, we'll just keep it running with the heavyweight championship. It looks like that only lasted a year, of all things. The first champion was crowned on May 30th of 1986. Crusher Khrushchev. I'm just kidding.
You actually got me. I did a double take.
Terry Gordy defeated Jim Duggan in a tournament final. It's always a tournament, obviously, for the first champion of the, and this was the UWF Championship. The title and promotion of same name used to be referred to as the Mid-South Championship Wrestling promotion. Once Bill Watts bought the territory, he changed it to UWF. Dr. Death Steve Williams was the final UWF champion before the promotion was sold to Crockett in 1987.
He got it! The Stampede, 1, 2. We've got a new world champion! A new heavyweight champion of the world!
Terry Gordy was the longest reigning champion with 163 days. Many fans only remember Herb Abrams' UWF in the early 1990s. This was not at all associated with the Mid-South version, and that's a major dumpster fire.
It is. Oh my God. I had to write it in because a lot of people, when you talk about the UWF, if they come from a certain generation of wrestling, they're like, oh yeah, that shit promotion in the early 90s.
Herb Abrams, yeah.
No, like, yeah, the Mid-Atlantic, Mid-South territories were on fire. Watts, I have my opinion about him in WCW and about how he sucked. But there was a lot of people that came from Bill Watts' UWF. Sting, Jim Ross, Terry Taylor, Duggan, One Man Gang, Gordy, Williams. Like, I can go on and on. Like, he had so many people in there. So when Crockett bought the UWF from Watts, Sting went over to Crockett and NWA. Duggan went to WWF. Like other people, you could just tell DiBiase went to WWF. So you had like that purchase, that sale to Crockett released like half the roster, and defined our childhood because we all know the $1 Million Man. We all know all these people that got kind of released, if you will, like they went one way and then one went the other. So yeah, that is the real UWF. The UWF in the early 90s was Abrams was legitimately like a coked out maniac, and he had no wrestling experience, and he decided to revitalize the UWF, which today, if you go and read anything on Wikipedia or any kind of wrestling historian site, they violently are like, it is not the same thing as Bill Watts'. Like, they need to make it clear because it was so terrible in the best way possible in the early 90s to watch Herb Abrams' UWF go down the toilet.
What I respect about the UWF Heavyweight Championship is that Bill Watts, pound for pound, these were literally heavyweights. There was no question. The 4 guys that held this belt: Terry Gordy, One Man Gang, Big Bubba Rogers, and Dr. Death Steve Williams.
Big
That is a
boys.
lot of poundage and a lot of big men purely to hold that title, which I respect. Like heavyweight should be heavyweight. I mean, those are big dudes.
And it's really funny because after he failed in WCW, Watts, he went to work for Vince for a while, for like a couple years, and he didn't fit in there. It was a big surprise. But
during the story trial, right? They were thinking about sneaking him in.
yes, they were actually thinking about possibly like him or Jerry
Just in
Jarrett.
case Vince goes to prison.
Yeah, they want it because Bill Watts, and so many people are like, well, after he failed in WCW and like all that, why would you? And Bill Watts was known to be such a hothead and like a very one-way kind of guy, because Vince loved big guys. And what did Craig just list? All of his heavyweight champions were big boys. Like, yeah, and it's so Bill Watts saw the same thing. That was the common denominator, because Bruce talks about it on his podcast. So many people didn't understand why Vince hired him to begin with. And it was like, well, he liked big guys. Like, he was the guy that Vince trusted, going like, just find my next big guy. You gotta, that's where the money is. And he's typically right, to be honest, But
I was going to say, I'm glad you kind of put the UWF titles back to back, because the last one you listed here, Jess, is near and dear, I think, to all of our hearts. And I think it's really
near and dear to
sad
you,
that it's
especially. I know why.
Yeah, obviously. And it's in the notes. It's already there, just to carry me. But what I'll say is, I'm going to preface before we come out and talk about this title that I think it sounds really crazy, because I know we kind of crapped on the TV title compared to the IC title, in the Pat Patterson episodes and things like that. But this title, I think, should make a comeback. Maybe even just on an NXT level or something. Why wouldn't you why couldn't you have an NXT television title and kind of say,
I mean, they're doing
great
it
history and lineage with the WCW? And
I have to say, I know we're not talking too much about today's product, but I like what Cody's doing with it. And I mean, Cody's not the champion anymore in AEW, but when he brought it in, I like what they're doing with it. I hate the belt design, but I like what they're doing with it, because it was the title that literally every WCW Saturday Night or Worldwide or whatever, it was.
Is that what they're calling AEW, the television title?
Yeah, it's like the TNT television title is what they're calling it. So it's a
tribute. Are they taking the lineage back to WCW, or are they able to do that or no?
No, they're not able to do that. But basically, they talked about it. They talked about how
everybody knows.
Yeah, like it's going to be defended on TV every week. And remember, he kind of did the open challenge with it, like kind of when he first got became champion. And so, but they were bringing in like independent wrestlers every week that you knew from the independent promotion. So they're trying to modernize it. But back here, well, did you announce it officially? Am I cutting you off?
No, you're good. It's and we'll just to make it official. It's the WCW NWA Television Championship that ran from 1970.
This is one of my
That's 25 years, is a long time.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite championships. I would say I love the Intercontinental Championship, the look of the belt that they currently use today, and the one that Honky had and Warrior had and Savage had and
Fantastic.
All that. I love that, and Michaels had and Razor Ramon. And so I love that model of the Intercontinental Championship, and I love the lineage of the Intercontinental Championship and what it represents. But second place is the WCW NWA World Television Championship. This belt I loved as a child, and I loved in my teens when it was still around. It was for a while, and then they kind of changed it like they do everything. They sort of betray what it is. It was only to be defended on televisions. They didn't even defend it on house shows originally in the NWA/WCW.
Had to be on TV,
because it's not on television. So
apparently, it used to have the side plates: ABC, CBS, NBC, like the actual networks,
Oh my gosh.
which had nothing to do with it.
I didn't.
Like
I split the three because there was three designs that I have behind me. The bottom one, I think it is, that you can't really see. That's the classic one that everybody likes. That had a black and a red background, and it had ABC, NBC on the sides or whatever. And it was only defended on television. That was only defended. So on WCW Saturday Night, WCW Worldwide, or whatever. That was. And remember, they went through a phase where they had 2 out of 3 falls matches with it. The champion would just defend it in a 2 out of 3 falls match almost every week. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I loved it because you had your C wrestlers fighting for it. Not suggesting that who Dave is going to read is a C wrestler. So calm your tits on that one.
But they would challenge for it.
But I loved watching people like Eaton and Terry Taylor wrestle for 20 minutes. Because I love seeing the talent. Like, I love pro wrestling. I love workers. Yeah. And this was like the Intercontinental and the U.S. were kind of deemed
not to
the workers.
mention, just to your point, the smartest thing about that is it gives you a reason to tune in every week, because you're only going to see that on television. And I think that was the whole purpose.
You're not going to water down your world champion. You're not going to parade your world champion in a match.
But you would see something that you wouldn't see anywhere else on tape or on house shows. You would see the television title only if you watched today.
And there were so many phases of this championship because there were 25 years. There was like the Arn period. There was like kind of the Lucha guys period. Ric Flair won it in 75. Like, Muda and Sting fought for it. There's some big names and big guys and the young guys. I had no idea that Booker T had won it the most out of everybody. There was that phase. Booker T and Bret Hart. Towards the end,
Booker T and Benoit, the best of 7. Booker T and Benoit.
Yeah,
it was like a big legend. Yeah,
I forgot about.
I mean,
that was too,
what a history of this thing from center stage and those flags to the heyday of Nitro and making guys. And
Blanchard and Rhodes fought for the television championship. Like,
it's funny. Everything you're talking about already seems better than the notes. Z-Man. The first NWA Mid-Atlantic TV champion was crowned on February 27th of 1974. Danny Miller defeated Ole Anderson in a tournament final.
Danny Miller!
That's right. We're already in the ring. Arn Anderson had 4 reigns with a record 877.
Calm down.
Title. Woo!
But this is a new introduction for Arn as the new World Television Champion, Arn Anderson.
Thank you, Bob. You know, Bob, since the beginning of time, any champion in any sport, if he was a true champion, had to overcome adversity. Now, I came out here once before and took this belt from Dusty Rhodes, but he snuck up behind me, busted me in the head with a chair. Jim Crockett Promotions did nothing about it. Jim Crockett did later come out here and throw his chest out and say,
man, I just did what they told me, and then I took the check and I said, "This is accurate pay, so thank you."
Is this what's going to work? Is this what
work?
Going to work? Then I will do it.
I will provide for you. Thank you for the paycheck.
And to Craig's point, Booker T had the most reigns with six times. I won't do it 6 times.
Austin won it. Steamboat won it.
Yeah, no, Austin. Austin was another big one that started his career. Yeah. Like when he came over from Texas and he went in WCW, like they put the TV title on him like within the first 6 months he was in the company.
You feel like they knew he was special even then, and even the Hollywood Blondes was special after that. But yeah, that's a whole other avenue.
I like the Regal era too. I like some Regal TV matches.
Yeah. You know, I look back and I do too. But when I was growing up and we were all watching it, I fucking hated it because he would go to goddamn draws every fucking week with that title.
It's like, does he have to sweat so much? It's 3 minutes in, he's just pouring sweat off his face. He's just doing a chicken wing.
There were so many different great phases with it. It started out with when they first tried to make it really big. It was like an abdominal stretch for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And Regal was sweating like
down.
I was like, dude, hydrate. Jesus.
It sounds like he did hydrate. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It was overhydration, bro.
Sorry,
it is. Yeah, they went through phases with it too, where it would be like to push it hard. They had a time where when the Horseman was like at their peak or whatever, and Rhodes and Blanchard, like that's fucking big. I mean,
are you kidding me right now? Yeah.
Jesus, like that, and that was what was the rest of the card like? But the U.S. and the World Heavyweight Champion, you know, like, and it's just kind of. And then they went to a phase where they put it on newer people to build them, but they actually tried to build them like we're talking about. Like they put it on Austin for a while and they built Austin's name like in WCW with that. Regal, they introduced him as like this British snob, you know, they brought him in as a face originally and it flopped. And then so they turned him to like this British snob and they put the TV title on him and he was for the better part of 2 years. Like, or a year for sure. Like he was TV champion and
it felt like it.
Going to draws with it was 10 years. It was, but yeah, they really pushed it and they really put effort into it. And then of course in the Nitro era, it started speeding up, but then that bright spot, Booker T, it helped make his singles career. When he broke off from Harlem Heat, the TV title was the first belt that he won. And I remember when he first won it, it was a big deal. Everyone on the internet's like, he's going to be good. Like this is Booker T's really good. And like,
he did all right. Yeah.
Change right here at WCW. 2 championship matches, 2 title changes. Unbelievable. What a night.
It may have been the least important belt, but it's still a belt, and it's still like you lean in when you're going to watch something for a championship. So it's like TV title or not, they used to open it with it. There's a lot
of
something
special about that title though, where you could only see it on television, and you know, it was pretty cool. It was a cool concept. On the low light, Rick Martel had the shortest reign with 6 days. Sorry,
It happens.
Sorry about that. The final champion. This is where it gets to be a real low light, and I can't imagine. I just feel like this is something everybody wants to shit.
I don't even want you to read this because I'm going to vomit. But go ahead.
I know.
Yeah, Hacksaw
We just
Jim
talked so
Duggan
highly of it.
is the final champion who found the title in a dumpster on the November 29th edition of Nitro. Scott Hall vacated the title by throwing it into a dumpster. On WCW Saturday Night, February 19th of 2000, that title was then discontinued by Eric Bischoff on Nitro, April 10th of 2000. I feel like, it's bad to blame Bischoff for a lot of things, but he did actually kill this one.
Who booked it being in the dumpster?
I don't remember who did. It might have been Russo.
Wow.
He was there at the time, right? Yeah.
When it got discontinued in 2000, so in 99, yeah. So basically what happened was Hall threw it in the trash on a Nitro in a dumpster. Then on WCW Saturday Night, Duggan found it, and I don't remember. I'm like, first of all, did they just take the trash from Nitro and bring it to the WCW Saturday Night studio? How did that even happen?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that maybe they showed a clip of him finding it on WCW Saturday Night on Nitro. Does that make sense? Like they didn't air it on Nitro, but on WCW Saturday Night that following Saturday, they had Duggan from
on Friday night. Look what he found.
we're going to go back to a clip from Duggan on Monday. So I think that's what happened is like he went to the back of Nitro and they aired the clip on Saturday night. They just weren't clear on that when I did my research. But I'm embarrassed that I remember
Duggan in a
of this.
dumpster?
I just laugh how.
Why is Jim Duggan?
Duggan, he was given a janitor. He was given a janitor gimmick by Bischoff or somebody. I don't remember. He was the janitor of Nitro for a while, and so he was going through the trash because janitors do that because they're super poor and dirty.
Because he got busted with Iron Sheik in the car with cocaine.
Yes, that's
what happened.
Every time I mention Hacksaw, I'm going to mention him getting caught with cocaine in the car with Iron Sheik.
Well, he went in the dumpster and he grabbed the TV title and he's like, and he grabbed a bag of something and put it in his pocket. You didn't really see what it was. Just kidding, Duggan.
Sorry, Duggan. Don't whip my
Sorry
ass.
about that. Yeah, don't come and football tackle me.
Because he will still kill you.
So yeah, no, it's so sad the way we just talked about the lineage of this title and how important it was, and Arn Anderson being one of the standout guys, and Austin getting a start with it, and Booker basically getting a single start with it, and so many other people like the Z-Man held the title. And then the Z-Man
call me crazy, but it would be cool for WWE to revitalize it somewhere, and it would also be that kind of in the side of AEW when Cody's trying to really do it some real justice, even though he can't say.
I want them to straighten out their titles first, Dave. Like they're a mess right now. Calm down. I'm surprised instead of the what's the secondary championship on NXT,
I don't care.
North American?
Is it North American or whatever? Like,
yeah,
I don't know why they wouldn't have just made the TV title or something.
Well,
like that.
I don't know. Maybe don't put it on a 165-pound man.
That's all there are in NXT. Dave is 165-pound men. Who do you want to put it on?
I don't know.
That's all they have.
You
That's a rule.
understand my issue. Like,
the big guys don't stay there very long.
Yeah.
So I love this title. I love all the belts really that we talked about, but particularly
this is the real achievement of all the forgotten titles. Yeah.
The U.S. tag titles and the television championship. Like I really, especially the TV championship. I can't tell you how many times, man, I loved sitting down on Saturday evenings and watching WCW Saturday Night or whatever it was called before Saturday Night, like not Power Hour, but that was one of the shows. But and I just watching a television championship match with Beautiful Bobby or Arn Anderson or the Z-Man or and then even like when WCW was when they were firmly all WCW, then you had the Regals come in, you had the Austins, you had like all that. It was really cool. Like I really enjoyed the TV title for a long time.
Yeah, something shouldn't be around 25 years and then like you just dump it. There's just too much history with it. Like I can't imagine them retiring. Watch, I bet they have. But just about to correct me. Like, would you retire the Intercontinental title at all?
They did.
Ever?
Yeah, they did.
I knew. I stopped myself. I was like, they did, didn't they?
Yeah, they did for a while.
And
then Cody brought it back. When Cody he brought it back, or he won it because they brought it back, and then he brought back the original Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, he was the one who brought back the original design.
So how many years did they not have an Intercontinental title?
Like 3 years, 4 years? Like
it wasn't very long.
People
were really upset about it too.
Yeah.
People were pissed.
I didn't watch it during that time. It's not my fault.
It just doesn't make sense. Like why? I mean, it was the ultimate stepping stone to see who was going to really, get the big one strapped to him, but I don't know. It just seems weird when you think
Well,
about it. It doesn't sound
when
real
you have
great,
four
they
world
would get rid of it.
champions, you don't really fucking know. You have the world heavyweight champion, the WWE.
But
champion.
that also not to get too far off track on this podcast, but that having that many world champions on different networks, you're automatically going to assume that one is greater than the other, and that's part of the problem.
That's why you should only have one to begin with.
Just have one. Yeah. I honestly believe when they unified it with Jericho and there would be the champion would go on both shows, I honestly thought it was the best time.
Yes.
That was the best time in wrestling. It's fantastic. So that's just me. Not take it too far.
Yeah, they fuck everything up.
There you go. And that's how you end a podcast. Hit us up on Instagram at O.W.P 2019. Click on Linktree. You can find us on several platforms, including Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast. And anything we talk about today is inspired by the guy who fucks everything up, the WWE Network. So do yourself a favor and get your free month today to watch anything.
The guy who fucks everything up and still gets our money anyway.
WCW, ECW, and more. This is Dave, Jess, and Craig with the O.W.P signing off. Have a good one.
Z-Man Terry Taylor.
Oppressing your own cognitive function eliminated. Conversations are chips we're growing and awakening because of your own weakened fragility. Such a man in this world only swallow you whole and victimize you. To those who wish to defeat and all that's true. And at the end of the day, it's them versus me and you. Let me make something really pretty to you. Now very openly. No reservations, I suggest stay the fuck away.